I want to move now into community and talk about this. This was a central theme from really the beginning to the end of the conference. Community was huge, creating community. Chris Brogan, who did one of the first opening sessions, said the principal role of publishers in the future will be to build and nurture vibrant communities for authors and readers. Let me say that again. The principal role of publishers in the future will be to build and nurture vibrant communities for authors and readers. Chris also talked about what he felt was the old rule of a publisher old role of a publisher was that a publisher was an intermediary. He felt that the new role of a publisher is to be an enabler with the technology that we can use. Over the conference, we heard hundreds of times about Twitter and Facebook. In fact, I was at a party on Monday night, and someone came up to me and said, I heard you asked a question in the opening session. And I did not know, but at the time, someone had Twittered the question that I asked about quality. Two people, Cassia Crosser and Kirk Biglione, who were sitting in an airport in Los Angeles flying out, were following the conference via Twitter and noticed this was going on. I mean, Twitter is huge. It's really huge. Tim O'Reilly uses Twitter every day. He has an audience of about 500,000 people on Twitter. 500,000 people to get the word out. He actually has a term that's called the O'Reilly bump, that when he forwards a Twitter onto somebody, it actually creates this bump in their system, and he actually receives, I think he said a couple of times a week, a notice from Twitter saying that he's the top forwarder of messages on Twitter. So PubWest now has a presence on Twitter at twitter.com/PubWest. And we will be doing a lot with Twitter. As soon as we release this video, I'll shoot out a message via Twitter. I would suggest that anyone that's interested in this, try it out. What I have done each day is just leave it up on my computer, and I go and look at it about every 15 minutes and see what's popped up and follow along. It's a fascinating thing of all the information that's moving back and forth. In fact, Twitter has become so relevant. Last night, there was a plane crash in Amsterdam. Twitter was the first to break the news on it and the first to release pictures. It wasn't a major news source. It was Twitter. It was people out there. So much is changing so quickly with this medium that we have. Going back to community, everyone has a network. Family, friends, business associates. The thing that we need to do as publisher is grab onto that network, find out about that network, get information out about that to that network, release information about your books. O'Reilly talks about releasing rough cuts of their books. They sent them out a couple of months before the books are published. They've actually seen a 30% increase in sales by releasing this information early on, because people go in, they start looking at it, they find corrections, they send information back to O'Reilly, and they become part of the book. So when the book comes out, they want to be closely associated with it. Along with community, what kept coming back to, we have all these opportunities. We've got Facebook, we've got Twitter, we've got all these ways to get to people. But really what it comes back to is publish good stuff and release it to your network. Just keep publishing good stuff and release it to your network. That was probably the most important part of this whole community's discussion for me. In terms of more parts of the technology for ebooks, let me just give you some information that Tim talked about, what he felt was exciting, why it was exciting to be in publishing. He expected ebooks to become 50% of sales in the next few years. He also expected 2 to 3% of the U.S. population will have an e-reader in 18 months. And as Tom and I have discussed, that actually is where we get to this tipping point, that there are enough people out there that have an e-reader, that have an iPhone, that have a Kindle, or have a Sony e-reader, or there's also a new technology that's going to be produced in January called the Plastic Logic. It's kind of a sheet of thick paper that you can actually bend that has the entire book on it. It's fascinating. They had a prototype at the conference. So it's when we get to this tipping point where you know somebody, then that technology will catch on and catch on and catch on. It'll be much quicker to come about. One of the things that Tim also talked about was be careful with your pricing on ebooks. Right now they have one of the most popular ebooks, the iPhone Missing Manual, sells for $4.99. They put this book out and they quickly saw a huge rise in sales. The regular book sells for, I think he said, $24.99. Saw a huge rise in sales, and Tim says we need to capitalize on this. So they changed the price to $9.99. Well, they saw a 40% drop in sales, just like that. So it's back down to $4.99 from that. So you need to be careful with how you put the information out and the pricing of the information. So all in all, I felt the conference, I've gone for 2 years, I felt the conference was better than ever. Like I say, we're going to, at PubWest, we're going to bring a lot of this information and share it with our members for our upcoming conference in